All right, good evening. Today is Thursday, February 22nd, 2024. It's our regularly scheduled council meeting. So I call the meeting to order. And for tonight, we have Elder Karam Bishop from Shepherd's Pastor for All Nations to do our opening prayer.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you. We thank you for being our God, our Father, our friend. Lord, you continue to provide, and we are grateful. Lord, we're grateful for your provisions over this city, over this community. Lord, we pray that your hand would continue to bless this community, Lord. Lord, please bless each family. Continue to keep the children in school safe, Lord, in this changing times. Lord, we pray over all the public services, Lord, especially our police and fire, that you continue to use them and keep them safe, Lord, as they serve our communities, Lord. Lord, we also just pray over this body, Lord, as they make decisions, that everything they do would be for the community, would be betterment of the community, and you would be glorified with the integrity that they run the city with, Lord. Lord, right now we just pray over this community, that it continues to be a light to the communities around. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. And if the mayor would lead us in tonight's Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Jonathan Bolus.
Mr. Bolus is excused this evening.
Adam Bozick.
Here.
Mary Gutman.
Here.
Donald Pavlik.
Here.
Jessica Epstein.
Here.
Ted Roy.
Here.
Nick Rubino.
Here.
Thank you. This evening, we have the correcting and adopting of previous meeting minutes, regular meeting held on February 8th, 2024.
Sorry.
And we have the Richardson Trust Fund trustees meeting minutes from February 8th, 2024.
I'll make a motion to approve both meeting minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Adam Bozick.
Yes.
Mary Gutman.
Yes.
Donald Pavlik.
Yes.
Jessica Epstein.
Yes.
Ted Roy.
Yes.
Nick Rubino.
Yes.
All right. It passes by 6-0. This evening, going on to item 5, financial reports. Says we have none, but I'll let the finance director speak if she has any things to add.
No,
No?
the financial reports for the month were at the first meeting, so
Great, thank
I'll
you.
have more next month.
All right, item 6, public hearings. We currently have no public hearings. Item 7, community input. At this point in time in the meeting, we open it up to any of the community who's here that wishes to speak about something other than what is on the agenda. If you do have something to speak about that's on the agenda, we ask that you wait until that period of time when it pops up on the agenda to come up and speak. Do we have anybody in the audience that would like to speak? No? All right, moving on. Item 8, agenda additions. This evening we have 2 presentations. Our first presentation will be by our police chief, Chief Bohan.
Thank you, everyone. Madam Mayor, members of council, our appointed officials, thanks for letting us come into your home tonight here and do this. We promise we won't take too much of your time. I know you have the business of the people to be about. We would like to recognize one of our own tonight for some exceptional work, our records manager, Tina Alarcon. We spent a long time trying to figure out what the appropriate mechanism is here for all of her hard work. And I think we came upon something we hope is acceptable to her and the entire department. And thank you all, the safety forces, the firemen, and everyone for being here to support us and support Tina tonight. It's pretty exceptional. There's a lot of people that came in on their own time, and it's a great team. It's a great team. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of read the citation for the award that we're going to be presenting to her, and then we'll go from there. For exceptional meritorious service while serving as the records manager for the Tallmadge Police Department from March 2019 to the present, you were instrumental in the development, building, training, managing, and implementation of a county-wide records management system which enhance the services of police and fire to the citizens of Tallmadge and the surrounding metro area. Your efforts were critical to the success of this large-scale project. Not only did you devote your time and expertise to the city of Tallmadge, but you were called upon time and again to support other agencies by assisting in the building of their systems and with the training of their employees. Additionally, your expertise assisted in the creation of the Summit Emergency Communications Center, a regionalized emergency services dispatch center serving most all of Summit County. Your knowledge of records management, leads, the duties and dispatching services, provided the government committee with critical information regarding personnel and operational considerations. Your contributions helped foster an organizational culture of teamwork and made maximum use of the various talents of a diverse team into a cohesive unit. Your distinguished performance, efforts, and accomplishments were far above your listed job description and greatly exceeded your normal working hours, of which I know your husband can testify. You directly enhanced the capabilities and effectiveness of safety forces as first responders to tens of thousands of citizens. Your conduct is in keeping with the highest values and traditions of the Tallmadge Police Department, and it reflects a great credit upon you and the city of Tallmadge. Just one short story that I know Tracy will remember, Tina's husband. It was in the middle of the build, and there was something going on, a meeting that she had to attend and some work that she had to get done, and she was so sick. I don't know if you had COVID or what, but she was deathly ill. And so she's at home, and she calls, and she's asking for her laptop so she can finish this project, and she sounds just horrible. And I said, no, you need to rest. And she made it very clear that she was not going to rest and that I had to deliver her laptop computer so she could get the project done. And that's just one example of the dedication that she shows and the work ethic that she has, and why I have been in front of council before around budget time last year to kind of highlight all that she does for us. And so much of it is unseen. So much of it is just kind of unknown. It's in your special world where you live. But her knowledge of software, her knowledge of the entire system is just, it just enhances our department. And we are so lucky to have it right here in Tallmadge, because we could have lost it, and other people just don't have it as good as we do with that resource in-house. So when we were trying to determine what is the best way, which is always difficult for our civilian employees to recognize all this performance and dedication, and I'm looking through our policies on how we can recognize our employees, I read a passage of one award that just seemed to fit perfectly, and that is that while demonstrating a high degree of personal initiative, perform substantially above normal requirements in an exemplary manner, and in doing so contribute significantly to the achievement of law enforcement goals or the department's mission. And I think that that is exactly, for the last 5 years, what you have done and what you continue to do. And so while this is highly unusual for us to do this, and in my limited research, I don't think that we as a department have ever done this before, we are going to issue Tina a meritorious service medal, which normally goes to sworn law enforcement officers. Since you don't have a uniform that we can pin it on, I'm taking the liberty of presenting it in another way.
Wow. You're gonna make me cry.
So this is an honor to present this to you. Thank you so much.
I'm not going to say much. I'm very fortunate with the men and women that I work with, both inside and outside of the department, our fire guys too. And I greatly appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tina. You don't know how important this is to, like you said, not just the police, the fire, all of our safety forces, the whole county. Thank you for everything that you've done. I really appreciate it. Can we get a picture of you and Chief real quick? With, yeah, just right in the front here with the I don't need to be in it, just those two. With that in the front, just you two. Thank you. If you could get me a copy of that, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Feels like a play tonight. We're going from one side of the stage to the other, but so this evening I've had the pleasure of introducing someone who has played a very important role in our community for many, many years, and that's Mr. Mike Sherdawa, who is a teacher and coach up at Tallmadge High School. So I have some notes here in front of me. So Mike has been a coach since 1998. He's coached the boys teams to 2 Suburban League titles in 2021 and 2022, 2 district runner-up finishes in 2005 and 2019. He's coached the girls team to 2 district titles in 06 and 09, and 3 runner-up finishes in 18, 21, and 23. During his time as head coach, there have been 52 different events that have qualified to run at the state meet. Those were not all individual events. Some of those were team events. So when you think about that, if it's a relay team of 4 runners plus usually 1 alternate, he's sent a lot of student athletes to the state meet down in Columbus. I can speak from a personal standpoint of my daughter, who's a student at Tallmadge High School, and she's run indoor track and outdoor track under Mr. Shinawa. He has an incredible way with the athletes, finding them, helping them to find ways to push themselves mentally, physically, on the track, off the track, in the classrooms. And just sending me, personal messages sometimes of, hey, can you check in on your daughter later on this or on that? And just having a coach that has a passion like that for students and cares about students in such a way that they go above and beyond and reach out to you outside of their normal hours, it just means a lot to me as a parent. And I couldn't think of a better person to present this to tonight than Mr. Mike Sherdawa. Sure. Official photographer. Yeah. Captain McGee's.
Multiple hats. 1, 2.
Thank you. Would you like to say anything?
Sure, I'll keep it really short. Yeah, I had no idea this was happening, so thank you. The community means a lot to me, and working with the kids and stuff like that. My family allows me to do this, and would be remiss if I didn't mention them, my wife Karen, and my 2 boys. And I have a great assistant coaches that help as well. So I'm flabbergasted. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
And I do have to say that Mike, when I decided to do this, I had to kind of surprise him, so he didn't really know why he was coming tonight. But I also had a very difficult time in deciding which coach to bring in because there are so many fantastic coaches up there as part of the high school track team. So, but thank you. I'm going to move to the other side of the stage. All right, under agenda additions, we are now on item C, boards and commissions confirmations. We have under Board of Zoning Appeals, and I'll turn this over to the mayor to speak about these individuals.
Okay, thank you. As you know, that these are appointments by the mayor, and they just need to be confirmed by city council. So that's why I've given you the list. I've kind of added a little bit of information on each person. For the BZA, Matt Aloisi, he's an employee benefits advisor with Ohio Health Benefits, and he's also a substitute school bus driver for the city of Tallmadge. Civil Service, Dave Klein will replace Lisa Zeno-Carano. I don't need to explain too much about former Mayor Klein, but for Civil Service, I think he would be a very good choice in that matter because of his historical knowledge, especially in that field. Architectural Review Board, I chose people that have historical buildings in the area. Former Councilman Jim Donovan owns Donovan Funeral Home and Cremation Services. He owns 2 Century buildings on Southwest Avenue, and he was, like I said, the former councilman. And Jamie Rager, she is replacing Daryl Ayers, who, by the way, Mr. Ayers had indicated that if you do need an alternate, he would be available if there happens to be a meeting that happens where he would be needed. But she's the executive director of retail banking for J.P. Morgan Chase, and they live her and her family live in a Century home on North Avenue.
Great, thank you. So a question for our law department. So it's stated that these are confirmations. So my question is, are these confirmations being voted upon by council, and what percentage of yeas and nays do we need to actually have confirmations?
For the confirmations, you just need a simple majority, and you would be voting on that, and you'll do it by
Okay.
roll call vote.
Okay,
You can do them all at one time, or you can do them individually. It's up to you.
all right. If for any reason, because we do have 6 council members this evening, one of these were to not pass, what happens?
It remains on the agenda if it doesn't reach a majority, so it'll come back
Okay,
next month unless the mayor would decide to make another appointment.
okay, all right, thank you.
And does anyone have any questions on any of these appointments before we start the voting that I can maybe shed some light on some information?
Any of our members of council have questions for the mayor?
I did forward all the bios to everybody, and I know it was not required, but I did put their party affiliation next to their names.
So I'll ask what I feel is a somewhat obvious question here. With the appointment of Dave Klein on the Civil Service Commission.
Yes.
Being that civil service is a paid position, going from elected to a paid position within the same city. I didn't have time to do the proper research, but is there anything within the Ohio Code of Ethics that would say that that is frowned upon or maybe borderline not something we should do because of a conflict of, for example, like a cooling off period when you leave a city government?
In my opinion, it would be similar to former Mayor Chris Grimm coming back as a councilman. And just to let you know, that they do, like, because it's a paid position, there is a reduction in their retirement, so they're not doing it because they want more money. They're doing it as a service.
Sure.
So their retirement does get dinged by taking on this role.
Is there, within the Ohio Code of Ethics, there's a section that talks about confidential information or privileged information that an individual would have from their prior employment or elected position that would potentially become relevant in the future for this new position? And using that privileged knowledge would be not allowed. Do we have any concern that this is an issue?
So I think what you're referring to, Mr. Bozick, is applicable to hiring someone as like as an independent contractor or having them come back and hiring them. They can't utilize information that they obtained in their office to then benefit them in like lobbying for something that would be coming in back in front of that same entity for a decision that they had knowledge about when they were in office. So I believe that's probably what you're thinking about, and that's not the same thing with an employee. We have a lot of employees that will technically retire and rehire like immediately.
Okay. All right, just want to make sure that we're
Yeah, this
staying
is-
within the
because this is
rules
not
and-
he's not, he's not asking to be contracted for or anything like that. It's an employee position, so it's a little bit different.
Okay. All right. So then I will, any further discussion on these appointments? So I think it'd be appropriate to do these one at a time. So for Board of Zoning Appeals, for the appointment of Matt Aloisi, replacing Ted Roy, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mary Gutman,
Yes.
Donald Pavlik,
Yes.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Ted Roy,
Yes.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Adam Bozick.
Yes. All right, that is confirmed by a vote of 6-0. Moving on to our Architectural Review Board, we have Jim Donovan replacing Mark Pollitt. Any discussion? No? All right, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Donald Pavlik,
Yes.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Ted Roy,
Yes.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Adam Bozick,
Yes.
Mary Gutman.
Yes.
All right, confirmed by a vote of 6-0. Jamie Rager for replacing Darrell Ayers on the Architectural Review Board. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Ted Roy,
Yes.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Adam Bozick,
Yes.
Mary Gutman,
Yes.
Donald Pavlik.
Yes.
Confirmed by a vote of 6-0. Civil Service Commission, David Klein replacing Lisa Zeno Carreno on the Civil Service Commission. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to say that I think this appointment makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? No, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Ted Roy,
Yes.
Nick Rubino,
No.
Adam Bozick,
No.
Mary Gutman,
Yes.
Donald Pavlik,
No.
Jessica Epstein.
Yes.
All right, so we are at a 3-3 vote. All right. Moving on to our reports of administrative officers. Item A, Mayor, Director of Economic Development.
Okay, thank you very much. First off, give me one little second here. I do have with me this evening Katie Bruck from Insight, and I would like her to do a brief presentation in reference to ordinance 2024-30. And if it's okay with you, can she do that right before we talk about the ordinance?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, thanks. And I know she has a PowerPoint that I had forwarded to Mrs. Conti as well.
Mayor Kelly, can you move a little closer to the mic? It is hard to
Okay.
hear sometimes.
Sorry.
Thank you. It's okay.
Sorry, okay. So I did have my second after hours with the mayor today. Had a great conversation with a resident that's very involved with the Tallmadge Chamber. A lot of good conversation out of that. I was very pleased with it. We spoke for probably an hour and a half. So it was a good thing that he was my only visitor. And part of that conversation segues into the next, which is what I have been really working hard on over the last several weeks, which is the economic development within the city. With Insight, we've gone on several business retention and expansion meetings with area businesses, StoreTech, Jetpack, Mr. Scasio, Individual Outcomes, Hayden Mold and Bench, Pyramid Rebuilders, and we also met with the city of Akron. We're starting that conversation with the West Avenue, Britton Road corridor, and there will be a lot of discussion and meetings going forward with them. Also had meetings with Brad Earhart with Portage Development Board, and Mike Lebb, which is Brimfield Economic Development. He's also with the Planning and Zoning. And he did say that I can disclose what is going to be coming into the JED. The VA is going to be bringing in a cancer and infusion center into the JED right next to Kohl's, in between Kohl's and the apartments down there. And they had to do some rezoning so that they're moving there is that park behind it there, which is in Portage County off of Roby Road that comes into Tallmadge. They're going to be putting the trailhead into or the park head. They're moving that around a little bit. But that is a definite go, and that's going to be kind of fast-forwarded, so we'll be able to see the benefits of that. And I think that's a fantastic facility to come into our area. I'm very pleased with that. There's also an engineering firm that is committed to bringing a project of a total of 4 buildings onto Mogador Road in the JED as well. And he also states that the village of St. Edwards in front of Aldi's is a definite go as well. So I was very happy to be able to get that information from him, and we do have a very nice open communication. So hopefully I'll be able to get information before we all hear about it on Tallmadge Talk, okay? We did have All Breed Training Club of Akron come in. They celebrated their 75th years in operation. They're a total volunteer corporate company that has their facility in Tallmadge at the fairgrounds. They do obedience training and agility training for dogs. So that was just a nice little feel-good moment. We did give them a nice award for celebrating 75 years of being in business. It was very nice. We've been having a lot of meetings over the solar eclipse. Like I'm telling a lot of people, Summit County is urging us to stay home because we can view it from our house. The Summit County Fairgrounds is having campsites available and parking sites available, so that could cause extra traffic into our city. I feel it's important that we use our resources, our safety resources, to help facilitate traffic and any type of emergency services to help with that. So we're not going to have any extra events within the city because of that. I don't want to stretch our safety forces too long. And the total eclipse lasts for 2 minutes and 43.6 seconds, just to let you know. And I'm going to have some phone calls into the Summit County Fair Board so that I can keep abreast on how many campsites that they're renting out. Right now, it's slow. I think they had a total of 8, like as of last week, I think is what it was. Maybe it was 8 parking spots, I don't remember. We did have an active shooter drill at the middle school and the elementary school last Friday. It was very impressive. It was very impressive to watch our safety forces, our police department, and our fire department go through the drill. A little bit scary, too, to think that this has happened in some schools, and very sad. And I'm glad that we're actually getting prepared, so hopefully that never happens here. We did also, on the 14th, we had the 20-year anniversary of the Tallmadge Rec Center. I hope everyone was able to stop by, because they did have some free giveaways, some cookies and everything. It was very well attended when I stopped by in the morning. It was very busy. And let me see, Community Garden is getting up and running. I know we have an ordinance in front of us for that as well. And we're getting ready for the State of the City. We'll have that ready for prime timers on the 19th and the Tallmadge Chamber of Commerce on the 20th of next month. Is there any questions?
I got a couple, just
Sure.
since that's my ward over there. Are we going to have the signs on the streets so people can't park on the neighborhood signs? And what kind of, patrol people we're going to have that handle traffic if it gets to be that bad?
Yeah, we're working.
So traffic can flow in and out and that
Right,
type
yeah,
of
we're
stuff.
working through all of that. We're having meetings on that, and we'll see if we can't get the Fair Board. And Mike, do you have anything to add on that?
No, we had a meeting, and obviously we were going to have all barricades and signage put up prior to that, so
So it'll be kind of like Summit County Fair a little bit then?
very similar.
Yeah.
Okay. Good, thank you.
On working in the West Avenue corridor.
Yes.
Who from the city are you working with? Of Akron, sorry.
Of Akron,
Yeah.
we met with their
We met
planning.
with
Go ahead.
Deputy Director of Economic Development, Sean Coleman.
Okay.
Planning Director, Kyle Julian.
Okay.
Mike Antonucci, who is the manager of zoning.
Okay. All right.
Those are the names I didn't know off the top of my head,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
she
no,
knows them,
yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
She knows
I'm
them very
familiar.
well.
And then second question, St. Ed's,
Yes,
that's in the JED, correct?
yes.
So responding to any kind of medical emergency,
That's considered
res-
Brimfield, but,
Brimfield?
that is considered Brimfield, but of course, Tallmadge has mutual aid, and that, well, has mutual aid with many communities, Brimfield being one of them.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Moving on to our Administration Director, Safety, anything to add? I think you covered that. Director of Public Service, Mike.
Good evening. Gina, did you? Thank you. While we're waiting for that, I'd like to request that ordinance 2024-32, if it could be passed at first reading, I'd appreciate that.
No, wrong one. That's Katie's.
Well,
Yep, there it is. Move it over.
all right. Like I said, if ordinance 2024-32 could be passed at first reading, I appreciate it. This is the pavement condition rating for concrete. If you look to the right of the two squares, you can see the city streets, the color-coordinated streets tell you how good or bad they do. You can see the 5-year difference. We're actually doing pretty well in concrete. We've improved. If you note, in the 2018, we were at 41% good. We were at 54 now. We're at 11% in fair to poor. That's gone. The 12% in poor to very poor is East Howe Road. And keep in mind, 5 years ago, we made the strategy to move into the allotments because they needed upgraded and done. I think it's important everybody's allotment that has concrete, that those roads are in better shape than East Howe Road. We are out and have engineering at 90% complete, so we should have the engineering of East Howe Road done by the end of this year. So we can start soliciting money, and we can also look at the budget on doing it. We had it broken down to 3 phases. To break down East Howe Road in 3 phases, maybe we just do it in-house. I mean, that could be another option, and just probably steer some of that concrete money into doing that. So a couple things to talk about at the budget. The bid came out, the base bid for the concrete program was awarded to Don Worco. The bid was $466,506. Those are the streets that are getting done. That's a fair amount. We have some in reserve, because keep in mind, sidewalks start expanding pretty quick as we go out to do sidewalks. The neighbor wants it, somebody makes another complaint about somebody else, so we will be back to add to sidewalks. So as glad as I was about the pavement rating, and keep in mind that pavement rating is done by a consultant, not by me, because it would be worse if it was done by me. I don't like the way our streets look, but that's either here nor there. You can see the difference in the 5 years. Our asphalt's gotten worse. That's 62% in 2018. That's a kind of a falsehood, because a lot of those streets are at the 70% mark, and they slip down to the fair mark pretty quickly. And we have the same problem in 2023, that 50%, a lot of them are at 70%. So by the time we do the next rating, I'm sure we'll be less than. I mean, 1 year difference makes a huge. You can see the difference there, a lot more colors on that. If you're looking at the poor streets, Thomas Road and Indian Hills are probably the worst two. Thomas Road's on the list to get done this year. So we went out to bid. Cardinal got the bid. That's their bid, $1,073,076.45. That's the most we had ever in paving since I've been here. In 2020, to give you an example, it was $500,000. So appreciate the increase. Want to also give a difference. In 2020, the amount that we spent in concrete was 80,000. So definitely appreciate the increase. But those are the streets. There's a couple sections of parks. Howe Road Park is getting a paved section of the drive has to get done, and then Lions Park, a walkway section has to get done. But other than that, the rest of those are streets. I just wanted to bring up how do you kind of improve that? Right now, we are more or less a pavement conditions with reactive maintenance. If you look there, the green line is roadside drainage. We do that every year. But then if you look at the mill and fill, that's when you repave a road. A couple years in, we start crack sealing. About 5 years, potholes start appearing. 7, 8 years, you're still doing, and by the time you get to 10 or 12 years, you gotta, unfortunately, repave that road. What do you do different? A couple things we don't do, and this is pavement preservation. The mill and fill there the first year, green line roadside ditching, we do that every year, crack seal. But then you can do some seal applications to lengthen that road. You could end up getting 25 years out of a road if you did some things differently that we don't do. Why don't we do them? Well, you saw, I don't think it's right to have $1 million budget for paving roads, and then I got to take money out of that because I should still be paving $1 million worth of roads to do maintenance. So the money's not there to do the maintenance. Just throwing this out there. I've thrown this out there about every year. It's something we really need to start looking at because we're putting a lot of money into paving the roads, but we're not catching up from, you could see from those other graphs. I mean, we're losing ground on the asphalt, gaining ground on concrete, which is good, losing ground on asphalt. So we got to start looking at things either a little bit different or get me more money for paving roads so I can catch up. Just want to throw that out there. Any questions? Good bids, great numbers.
I have a question. As a resident of Howe Road, I'm really excited about the possibility of getting it repaved. And also as someone who's knocked on almost every door on that road, I think a lot of others would be as well. Would the road stay as 4 lanes or would it be reduced?
So it'd be
I've gotten those
reduced.
questions.
So the width would remain the same. We'd take it down to 3 lanes with a center turn lane. And then you would have 2 bike lanes as well.
Okay. And would that, do you feel, in your opinion, help with people coming off of that smaller circle on Howe Road and gunning it?
Yes,
Okay.
I would.
So is there, by reducing the lanes, is there cost savings, or is it's the same width, it's just the way that we're painting it?
It's the same width. It would go to asphalt instead of concrete.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you say you're changing it from concrete to asphalt?
Correct.
Estimated, how much would that cost?
I should have that cost here probably within a month. I just got the 90% set plans. It's 148 pages, so it's a lot of.
Yeah.
So I've not gone through it, and they said when I'm done, they'll give me the cost.
Got it. So does it make sense to turn that to asphalt instead of keeping it as concrete?
Oh,
Like-
yes, because that's what's so costly about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's killing me to do concrete, and to turn that over to asphalt would be, it would help.
Like they did in the falls?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you have an estimate on what the maintenance would be? Like to do the maintenance plan that you're talking about?
I can get you one.
So, Mr. Rohr, if you're looking at the plan that you have up here is potentially doubling the life of any particular road, how much, I'm assuming there's cost savings of all the different things you're laying out in there. Do you know how much you're talking about cost savings?
So cost savings, so 5 years ago, we needed to pave Maca parking lot, and we decided to do a chip seal. To pave it, it was $120,000. To chip seal, it was $39,000. 5 years later, it still looks good. I mean, so that's the preventative maintenance that we're talking about. Now, at the end of the day, We laugh and we snicker and we giggle about chip seal, but at the end of the day, the facts are the facts. I mean, it's where we're at. I mean, you can't be throwing that much money at paving without trying to stretch that existing pavement out. And I'm not saying chip seal everything. There's other options, fog seal, micro surfacing. But at the end of the day, we're not doing the right stuff.
And so what stops us from doing the crack seal, the fog seal, microsurfacing as part of the maintenance program?
Funds, we don't have it budgeted.
Well, it'd be interesting to see in the next budget cycle how those numbers all play out. I mean, I don't think I was here the last time we looked at it, so definitely.
Yeah, because I don't want to take money out of the paving budget to maintain it. I want to keep paving, if that makes sense.
But it sounds like we have a bucket with too many holes in it right now. We have to spend some money to plug some holes, or it's not just, it's
Yeah.
just not gonna work in the long
It's one or
run.
the other. Get me more money for paving, or get me money for maintenance as well.
And if we do the maintenance, in the long run, we're saving money. It's just a bigger investment up front.
So if I take the Macca Park chip seal, that's $80,000 I could put in something else. Instead of paving it for 120, I did it for 39 to stretch it out for another 5 years, right? So that's another 80 I can throw at something else, right? So that's the way we gotta start looking at some things.
Right.
Do the lower traffic roads like neighborhoods, stuff like that, does that asphalt generally last longer, or would that need some sort of protection also to get the longevity that would create a cost savings?
It all needs the longevity, the maintenance to get the longevity out of it. Asphalt's not like it used to be. I mean, it's, why, I don't know, but it doesn't last like it used to. Concrete's not the answer either, though. I mean, concrete's a pain. Very expensive to work with.
Well, there's different types of asphalt.
Yes.
I understand, yeah, okay.
Yep.
I mean, what type are we seeking, or what type would we seek going forward? Would it be a lower grade, or would it be
No,
higher quality?
Quality's good. I mean, at the end of the day, right now, we don't allow any wrap in our surface. Wrap is the recycled product, so they recycle the millings. Once they mill a road, all that grindings, they put back in asphalt. That's an inferior product, so why would you put that back in? But it's perfectly fine. I mean, ODOT approves it. I don't think it's right for your surface. We have a virgin asphalt surface at the end of the day. Now, what we can do is richen up the emulsion in it, put more emulsion into it, and that costs more. So there again, you go back to that list of $1 million, that's not a lot of roads to pay for $1 million. So you keep richening up that asphalt. I think you should, and we do. But at the end of the day, still need more money.
So, if I can interrupt, because I think we could talk about roads for all evening. But I think,
Thank you,
Mr. Yeah, I saved you, Mr. Rohr. If you,
I would like to talk.
if you, if you could, I think I think a lot of us would probably like to see prior to budget season, if you could put together kind of your dream plan of, here's what it is, as the mayor rolls her eyes like, yeah, or looks down in disappointment because of the cost.
No, I know what he dreams, that's why. I know
Right.
what he's
Oh, I know,
dreaming.
I know.
Because he comes in my office and
Right.
says, if it's a perfect world.
Right. So maybe you could put that together just as a guide for us to understand just how expensive this could be in the long run.
Sure.
And then on a side point, on Washburn, I saw that there's a section getting redone. The section that is getting redone from East Avenue to Roby never gets double lined. And is that just because there's not curves like there are in the rest of Washburn? Or, because I've had people ask me, why is there no double line all the way down Washburn? It stops right at Roby Road.
It is because of the curves, but what we're going to do different this time is the whole road is going to get edge lined, which that's definitely necessary.
Okay.
And why it wasn't edge lined before, I don't know.
Okay. So if anything, if we could put those double lines in there, I think that would be.
There's engineering reasons, and we'll double check with the engineering
Right.
on where we can put them, but the edge lines, we can do it coast to coast on that road.
Okay. And then the other point that I would like to bring up is about the Howe Road project. And I understand the width of the road is not going to be shortened. It's going to maintain where it is with a turning lane down the center. My only concern would be in years of future development, we know what's on that road. We know there's property that's available there. My concern would be as in the future, things develop, and even all the way down to the jet area at the far end of Howe Road, as things continue to develop down there, I worry about it being too congested, meaning that we're funneling people into one lane when we already have two lanes available. So just something to think about. I know we've talked about it a little bit, but I think looking into the future, you always hear about cities that are, we're doing a road expansion, and then here we're talking about getting rid of a lane, both sides.
So before we could do that, we had to have a study done to see if you could reduce with future expansion of that farmland. And we'll never match the traffic count of Chapel Hill.
Meaning that
Reducing the lanes would be perfectly fine with expansion of the farmland.
okay.
Because there's, the draw on that road is not, it's not there anymore because of the loss of Chapel Hill.
See, and I find that very odd because of the traffic study we had done for the development of the property on Northwest.
That just rated.
Or
an F-
Northeast.
That just rated an F minus. That had
So
nothing to do with reducing
I find that
the
very
lanes.
odd that would be, but anyways, any further questions for Mr. Rohr? I believe we have one comment in the audience. If you'd please come to the mic, state your name and address.
Lee Giddon, 1602 Timbertop Drive, Tallmadge, Ohio. So this is the first time I've heard about the reduction. I travel Howe Road a lot, and we are stopped by traffic a lot by turning into the condominiums that are there. Is that Howe Road area going to be reduced also in that section? Because that's going to
not-
cause even more.
That's not the section, so I should have said that beforehand. So the section I'm talking about is from North Avenue to the roundabout.
Oh, okay. Well, we had that road reduction not too long ago anyway, because they took out that one lane down around that other circle.
Yep, so the section.
So that would just eliminate it all the way up to North Road then.
Yep,
Sounds good. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Any further questions for Mr. Rohr?
No, just thank you for your dedication. I know when I talked to you a month and a half ago and asked you what keep you up at night, so thank you.
Yeah, thank
Us
you.
and the residents, thank you for keeping our roads.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Moving on to our item D, reports from Director of Finance.
I have nothing to report this evening, but would be glad to answer any questions if anyone has anything.
You don't want to talk Excel spreadsheets or finances? No? Yeah, all right. Not as fun as roads. Any questions for Director of Finance this evening? No?
I just wanted to mention, I did enjoy talking spreadsheets with you earlier this week, and thank you for taking the time to meet with me and walk through our city's finances. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Item E, Director of Law.
Thank you. I have no report this evening.
Thank you. Any questions for Director of Law? Nope. Moving on to reports of standing committees of Council of the Whole. First up, we have Mary Gutman for Planning and Zoning.
Thank you, Mr. Bozick. I will call planning and zoning to order. We have no legislation before us this evening. Does anyone have anything for planning and zoning? Okay, seeing nothing, then I'll close committee.
Thank you. Moving on to item B, Finance. Councilman Pavlik.
Okay, thank you. Call the Finance Committee to order. The Finance Committee deals with budget appropriations, reappropriations, bonds, franchises, investments, and expenditures. We currently have one reading tonight, which is in its second reading. It's ordinance 2024-30, authorizing the mayor to contract with Insight Advisory Group LLC for economic development consulting services without competitive bidding, appropriate the necessary funds, and providing for a needed enactment. This ordinance was read into record. Mayor, do you have any comments on this?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So as you
turn my mic on, I'm sorry. They're a consulting firm that does economic development for a variety of municipalities. I did, when I was first elected into this office, I did go out and solicit resumes and people to fill the position for economic development. We had advertisements out through Indeed, many different venues, received very few applications and resumes for people interested in doing economic development. And the couple that would have been great rock stars for our city, we were too small for them, okay? They did not have a desire to come to the city because of that. But all along, I have worked with Insight as someone on council. I've been very aware of what they did when I was on council, and I liked what I saw that they had brought to the table. And I knew going forward that I always wanted to keep Insight because of what they bring to the table, their broad umbrella that they have, and their potential to bring projects to our city. So my plan has been to keep Insight as a consulting firm and still add someone to my staff for economic development. As you know, my director of administration will be coming in May, and the economic development person will be working under that individual. I would like my director of administration to be able to hire that individual, and we are reimagining what that position is going to look like. It will not be just economic development. It will have some other aspects as well. And I would like them to work with Insight and them be the face of economic development for the city. So that is my plan. I do want a robust economic development team for our city, and I want to do it the most economical way we can within our budget. This ordinance is not asking for any additional money. It is just asking to move some money from my personnel section of my budget into my other expense item of my budget. So it's not asking for any additional money to come out of the city's finances. And with that, I would like to have Katie Brock from Insight Advisory come up and do a presentation on what they do for the city of Tallmadge and other municipalities.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council President, for the opportunity to speak tonight. As the Mayor stated, I'm Katie Breck. I'm Director of Economic Development for Insight Advisory Group. I've had the privilege of working with the City of Tallmadge since I started with this company in April of 2023. And we contracted with Tallmadge under the previous administration to provide economic development consulting services for the city. We are very grateful for the potential to continue our work here with Mayor Kilway. If we can move to the next slide, please. So some background on Insight Advisory Group. We're an economic and community development consulting firm that works with municipal governments and corporate clients. On the corporate side, we work with companies on incentive procurement and capital stack management to help them expand. On the municipal side, we work as fractional economic development professionals, working alongside mayors and their planning and economic development teams to help them develop their vision and implement strategy as it relates to economic development. Insight is a business unit of Welty Building Company. Welty is most known for its construction business, but we also have Welty Development and Property Management, our office furniture group, Environments for Business, and Welty Energy that works with First Energy and other utility companies to rebuild our nation's energy infrastructure. When possible, we leverage our business units to support our municipal and corporate clients, which is a huge value add to partnering with us. Next slide, please. Here's the background on our team. We're a team of 3 people. Sean Joyce is our president, and I know he has been to council a couple times before. Scott Harrington is our economic development program manager, and I serve as the director of economic development. And as I mentioned, I joined the team in April of 2023 after working for the City of Akron's Mayor Dan Horrigan as the director of strategic development. I also have a decade of experience working for the U.S. House of Representatives in a variety of positions in economic development, grants work, and I also served as a legislative assistant on Capitol Hill. Sean is a CPA with a strong background in nonprofit management. Most recently, he served as CEO of San Hewitt Hall and Gardens. Scott joined our team in August of 2023 after 14 years managing BRE strategy for the Greater Cleveland Partnership. Next slide, please. As far as our accomplishments over the past 9 months, as we've been working with the City of Tallmadge, we focus our efforts on business retention and expansion visits with local employers. It's important to build strong relationships with local employers because 80% of new job creation are created by businesses that are already here. These visits are ongoing throughout the year, and we also join forces with our local economic development partners, Portage Development Board, Greater Akron Chamber, and Team Neo, and Summit County and Jobs Ohio. Both counties conduct regular touch points with businesses, so we found what works best for companies is if we join forces. So that way they're not having to book additional meetings. We can all meet with the company at the same time and help to maximize the visit so it's the best use of time for the company. BRE is a priority for our economic development strategy because new job creation is the ultimate goal of economic development, helping businesses to have access to resources, to hire people, and grow the local tax base makes our economy stronger. Our major focus has been building a robust BRE strategy in Tallmadge. I included some of the meetings that we participated and led back in 2023, as well as some of the meetings that we've already covered for the first part of 2024. There were others to add, but I had limited space. I would also add in that we did do 2 rounds of business visits. These were drop-in meetings that we did for a total of 77 visits leading up to Circle Fest. I did some of these visits on my own, and then Mayor Klein attended about 30 visits with me last summer to promote Circle Fest. In 2024, we are thrilled to partner with the City of Tallmadge once again and thank Mayor Kilway for her confidence in us. Economic development is a top priority for her administration, and we will deliver on solidifying a strategy and move into implementation. Once the new economic development staff person is in place, we will help orient and onboard this person to ensure a seamless transition. Until then, here's the scope of our work. Next slide. Continue to carry out the BRE program. We'll do this proactively by scheduling regular touch points so we know what the pain points are for the companies and how we can best help them secure resources to position them for success. During these meetings, we identify opportunities to stimulate and incentivize job growth, connect businesses with workforce development resources, and present Tallmadge as a business-friendly environment. Our second goal is to continue to develop the strategy that will best position the City of Tallmadge for success. We have already begun connecting with, as the mayor mentioned, the City of Akron to help find ways to improve economic conditions at our borders. We're also laser focused on improving West Avenue and working towards the vision set by the West Avenue overlay. Our third focus is how to best connect the city to the unprecedented level of investment in economic development at the state level. Most recently, the governor made available $750 million for site development and site improvement. So we're reviewing how we might tap into this program and keeping a watchful eye on other opportunities that may come into view. Lastly, we work with planning and zoning to evaluate new businesses who are interested in moving into the city. We are also in the process of strategizing with the mayor how to be more proactive on our business attraction efforts. So as I close tonight, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. And also, I want to thank you for your service, because I have a tremendous amount of respect for people in public life, especially our public officials. Thank you for your service to Tallmadge. And at this time, I would welcome any questions that you may have for me. Thank you.
Katie, what other municipalities do you work with?
So in the past, prior to my work with Insight, we've worked with Conneaut, North Olmsted. We've worked with the City of Medina, Norton. Currently, I serve New Franklin and Barberton as well as Tallmadge, but we also have some opportunities up in Lake County that we're pursuing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What areas of Tallmadge are you most concerned with bringing these new businesses or helping businesses grow? What are you more concentrated on, maybe the JED? Where's your primary focus?
Right now, as I've walked the streets, as I did back over the summer, I am most concerned with West Avenue and some of the vacancy that we have around the city. I think that there's tremendous opportunity to engage with the residents and ask them, what are the amenities you wish to see here? And then also, our visits, what has been most fruitful is finding out that there are companies who are located here but are looking at other areas. And if we wouldn't have dropped in and visited with them, we wouldn't have had that opportunity to help them find a new location here in the city. And so it's just being ahead of that curve, I think. But my focus and concentration really is on the vacancy and how we can improve the facades on some of our buildings and just the overall look and feel.
How long have you been contracted with the city?
Since April.
April? And have you, I know you brought up some of the businesses you've worked with. Have you done any community research as far as what the residents are looking for?
That we had not pursued under the previous administration because that was not the directive we were given. However, I think with Mayor Kilway, being that she's newly elected, that is something that I would be interested in pursuing if given the opportunity.
Are there any projects, you say that West Avenue is definitely a focal point for you. Are there any projects that you can currently talk about that are in the works for West Avenue that are a direct result of the relationship with your company?
I cannot speak to, I can give you some examples of the work that we are doing. So one of my concerns is once Kenda Martin Wheel moves, what will become of that building? So we were aware of a company that was looking in the city of Akron to consolidate some, and they have operations in Tallmadge, but they were looking in Akron to consolidate a lot of their work. And it was kind of like one of those opportunities where, the mayor and I went, we heard that they were interested in expanding, and they expressed interest in that, in Martin Wheel. And so we were able, once that listing became available, making the connections and, connecting their broker with the Martin Wheel's broker and allowing them to have that conversation and tour. I have not followed up on that. That is, obviously a business decision whether or not they want to move forward with that, but that's part of the work that we do. Additionally, I have been in conversations with the realtor representing the old A&W, and obviously that is a site that we want to see filled. And so I shared with him that there's a whole West Avenue overlay plan, and he asked to see that plan because he wants to work with us on trying to beautify West Avenue and finding a suitable business for that location. So those are, some of the things that we've been doing. But to be honest with you, when we arrived here, the position had been vacant for about a year. And so there was quite a bit of house cleaning that needed to happen before we could hit the ground running with these business visits. But, so there was a lot of work that needed to be done before we started. But I think that we are on track for success in 2024.
Is there any current vacant land properties that are being focused on for development right now with you guys in there that you can talk about?
Well, I think Midway Plaza, now that it's out of, condemnation, that will be an area of focus for us. Also, the properties where Rocky roller skating rink used to be, where I used to skate as a kid, looking at that and working with the property owner to, get those sites back online, because currently those listings aren't being advertised, and, helping him to see what the community would like to see. So those are very like initial conversations that we're having. But yes, resident engagement, I think, will be key to helping to bring the amenities that we want to see here. And quite honestly, I would appreciate the assistance of council in connecting me with any residents, in the future, if we could potentially pull some people together to have those conversations. I think it would bring a lot of value.
I really appreciate your time. I only have one last question for you. How much time a week would you say your company spends on Tallmadge-related issues?
That's a great question, and I do track my time weekly on all the jobs that I am assigned to. I would say that between Scott and I, we are probably spending about 20 hours per week, although our contract currently is for 25 hours a month. But that's how much we love it. We just love working here, and we're very committed to the city and helping it grow. So it always, sometimes it fluctuates, but I would say just because we're just so excited to work with the new mayor, we've been putting in extra time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You had mentioned, obviously, one of the top priorities is job growth and expansion, but you had also mentioned that this past year was coming in after this has been vacant for a long time, so there was some time to get yourself set up in this new role. Are there any KPIs that you're looking at in the future so that we can look and say, this is, what our goals are we achieving them, and do you have any of those that you can share from maybe the past year? It's okay if not, though.
So currently, I would say that, all that we have been tracking are contacts, visits, scheduled, and meetings. We had not set KPI at the beginning of our work here in Tallmadge, but I've had conversations with the mayor that, if it were the desire of the administration, both mayor and council, to set metrics to track our work, then we would be happy to think through what those could look like and begin tracking.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I have just one or two quick questions. Because we're looking at we have your statement of work in front of us as well. And I think one of the main questions that I have is doing kind of an inventory of the city and knowing here's what's available, here's what's actively being listed. And, you have on here property database development, and I'm assuming that might be part of what this would include. But, for example, I've lived here pretty much my whole life, and there's been some areas in Tallmadge that have been vacant or back and forth for many, many years. So I think if we can identify those and determine, what is it why these are actually vacant? Is it a zoning issue? Is it, it's more than just a business visit to determine, this business is doing great, but, what's good tomorrow might not be good next week for them. So I think my question would be, do we have an inventory of all of available properties, spaces that are available for lease, and ones that aren't? And how do we determine that? Like, for example, across the street, I don't know if that professional building is fully occupied or not. And if it's not, is there plans to talk with that site owner to maybe redevelop it into something different? To kind of go beyond just, well, I will help you get somebody into the space, but to look at it as a master plan for the city to say, let's redevelop this area to make it, a 3-story building with, something different, something that you would see like in downtown Kent or something. I just want to know if that's the route we're going with this company, or if we're just simply, for lack of a better words, kind of just putting a Band-Aid on a problem that has always been.
Okay, Mr. Bozick, if you don't mind if I just
Sure.
kind of answer that. I'm 50 days in on this job, okay? I campaigned on economic development and moving the city forward. And I campaigned and I door knocked thousands and thousands of homes, stating that my plan was to keep Insight as our consulting firm, add someone in-house, and work hard, knowing that it's going to take more than 50 days to do that, okay? And 65% of the people in this city agreed with me. So I'm just asking that if we can work together to all get there at the same place, at the same time, and to help move the city forward, because it's going to take a joint effort between all of you on council and all of us here in the administration to move the city forward. And I believe that this is our best route going forward.
Mayor Kilway,
Yes,
if you're taking money from one part of your personnel budget
yes.
for this, and you're still planning on opening that position,
Yes.
where are you taking the current money from as far as what position?
So, in my personnel, it was budgeted for a full year of a Director of Economic Development, a full year of the Director of Safety, and a Director of Administration. We do, and a full year of HR person as well. HR came in about a month later. Economic Development is not going to come in until after my Director of Administration comes in. He comes in May, so there's money available. Even with moving this $50,000 out of there, there's still money available in my budget under personnel to accomplish this.
Does that mean you're only planning on keeping Insight till the end of the year?
We will evaluate that as it goes forward, and if I need to increase my budget for next year, that'll be reflected in that budget.
Thank you.
If they're going to perform the way I think they're going to perform, and we would like to keep them, that'll be a decision that we will all make together, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. And Mayor Kilway, don't by any means think that we're, waiting for 50 days of miraculous miracles to happen. We aren't. We understand that things do take time.
Right.
And we're just having a discussion here about
Right.
what it is exactly that we're hoping to accomplish. And I think my question still kind of remains is that part of the plan? Is it to look at the bigger picture of areas to say, maybe this isn't the right kind of building for this area, or maybe we need to redevelop this entire site. And I understand it's kind of a odd philosophy for city government to be the one maybe pushing that a little bit,
Right.
but if that's what it takes to develop the city in the proper way, or in a way that our citizens would like, then I think that's maybe the direction we should be going. So that's my only question, I think, and as long as
Right, and I
think
appreciate
we're
that.
on
Yeah.
that same page as saying collectively as a group between our outside resources, city council's vision, the community's vision, your vision, if we're all seeing that, then that's the direction we should be going. But if we're simply talking about doing a business visit and making sure we're going to retain them, which obviously is still a very important,
Right.
but if that's the scope of it, I think that's where we might be getting hung up on.
Right. And don't get me wrong, the past couple years have not been kind to the city in regards to our economic development, just based on circumstances. And I want to improve that. And I think you guys know that I have Tallmadge's best interest at heart, and I want to work together with everybody to get this accomplished. And it's going to take time, and it's going to take buy-in, and it's going to take everybody's ideas to move forward. And I'm not going to say no, I don't want to redo that corner. I'm not ever going to say that. I'm going to do what's best for the city. You know, even, I mean, if it's not something that I like, but it's the best for the city, we're going to do it, okay? So,
Great to hear. Thank you.
Okay,
I think
thank you.
that's, I'll turn it back over to Dawn, and I believe Councilwoman Gutman has a question.
Okay, I'll just add to that too. There's the additional aspect of the business owner that
yes,
we could have all of the great ideas, and the business owner, in the end, it's their business and their property. So that can't be overlooked, that a lot of these current situations we're in are because the business owners have their own opinions and thoughts and needs. And so I appreciate that you're taking that personalized approach to meet with them individually and listen to those needs and work with them on that level. So I think it's really an advantage for us right now that you're here doing that before we have an economic development person on board so that we can have that transition going in. I was discouraged to hear that we're having a hard time attracting somebody on our own. And so I wondered if Insight has the ability to help recruit that person once our director of administration is here. Can you help us find the right person to work with them?
Certainly, and we would be happy to, once the Director of Administration someplace, assist in maybe thinking, like working through our network or other contacts, or maybe there are professional organizations that we could be reaching out to and making sure that the posting is being shared. I'm a member of the Ohio Economic Development Association, so perhaps that might be an avenue to share the posting for Tallmadge with their membership.
Yeah, good. That's good to hear. And I also wanted to thank Mayor Kilway for her time yesterday in meeting with me and spending, I know, probably more time than you planned answering questions.
that's okay.
And, filling in all those little pieces. And so I would encourage everybody to, take that time if she's willing to give it, and so we can all work together and move forward like you're saying. So I'm excited about all this. I think it's great, and
And if I could say
there's
one more
so much
thing.
potential.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate that. If I could say one more thing, too. Remember the slides that Mr. Rohr had up here earlier about, streets and all this he wants to do? That's going to cost money. And the best way to raise that money is through improving the economic development of the city. And I think that the best way to do that is to create that team that I want to create. So it all boils down to money. It really does.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion, or do we move this to third reading?
I would like to see it go to our third reading. I think we have maybe some questions still on the back of our mind. I'm sure I'm going to come up with more tomorrow. So I would like to maybe see it go third reading.
That is absolutely fine, yes.
you.
I think I
And-
said that in my email, too, that
Yeah.
it could go another reading. It's not a problem.
I was going to say, with Mr. Bolus not being here, and, we just received the contract yesterday, and I'd like to talk to you, Mayor
Absolutely.
Kilway, because I've been the member of Tallmadge Grow
Mm-hmm.
for 12 years, and that is an entity that is for economic development.
I understand. I had a long
And-
conversation with one of your counterparts
Yep.
parts earlier today, too.
Yep.
So
So, yeah, thanks.
I look forward to that conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Breck, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Katie.
Mr. Pavlik, if you can close your committee.
Okay. That's all before us. Is there any questions or anything to bring before the Finance Committee this evening? None. So with that, I will close the Finance Committee meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I'm going to kick it right back to you because Mr. Bullis' absence, you have now Personnel Committee.
Forgot about that. All right. The Personnel Committee deals with personnel, labor relations, insurance claims, rules of council, and state statutes. There is no ordinances presenting for tonight's meeting. Is there any questions or comments for the Personnel Committee? With that, I will close Personnel Committee this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I will turn it over to Councilman Rubino for our Safety Committee.
I call the Safety Committee to order. The Safety Committee deals with disaster services, communications, fire, and paramedics, police, and health. We currently have no legislation before us this evening. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns?
Mr. Chair, if I could just make a comment. I just want to commend the administration and our safety forces on a job well done for the active shooter training that they conducted at the schools. I heard from a lot of different teachers and some student involvement that they had there as well, on how professional and well ran it was. And I look forward to hearing more about it from either our safety forces or from our mayor. Obviously in private, probably don't want to share too much of that information publicly, but I definitely look forward to hearing more about that. So.
Okay, absolutely, anytime, just let me know. Thank you.
Any other comments? All right, hearing none, I will close Safety Committee.
All right, thank you. I will turn it over to Councilman Roy for our community issues.
Community issues, committee, I'd like to open, call to order, please. Community Issues Committee deals with Parks and Recreation, Civil Affairs, and liaison between council and the Recreation Board and the Intergovernmental Affairs. Tonight, we have first reading of ordinance and resolutions. Ordinance 2024-31, authorizing the mayor to enter into a lease with Tallmadge Lutheran Church for approximately 1.55 acres of vacant land off East Avenue and providing for immediate enactment. Mayor Careway, you want to comment on that, please?
Yeah, this is just the annual lease, or I think it's
No, it's not. It's
every 5 years, I think? Yes,
This
5.
one is 10.
This one is a 10-year? Okay. So this is the lease for the community garden that is, very well attended throughout the year. And we will be ready to start advertising for residents to come and, reserve those plots here very soon.
Is there a cost on that? Just,
No
no, it's
cost.
just
Oh, it's $1?
$1?
Okay.
we couldn't get it for 50 cents? All right.
How many community members are currently averaging using that?
I don't know the number, but I know there's a lot of them, to the point where this year Andrea is going to try to limit the initial, like when they come to sign up, they can sign up for 2 plats initially, and then when they've gone through the first round, then they can come back and ask for more, because there's people that like to use, they live in apartments or they have small houses, and they like to have gardens. They really do. It gets filled.
Does that lease have any cost to the city?
No, that's the $1.
That's the $1?
It's a $1, and we take care of that. We turn the soil.
That's a great program.
Yes, it is. It's a great community program.
And that's for Tallmadge residents only, correct?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. I believe so.
Okay.
I have a question about the garden. So all the gardeners ask every year, they can't plant until June 1st because you do till it. Is there a possibility of moving that date up and tilling it earlier so that they can plant earlier?
Let me look into that. I'm not sure why it would be June 1st, but there must be a reason.
Okay.
I do have one more question. With the recent legislation that has passed, are we permitting drugs to be planted in our community garden?
We have already discussed amending the rules to prohibit that.
Thank you.
I just have a question. Does the lease speak to improvements to the land? Like if the city decided, since it is 10 years, if we wanted to do anything to make it more accessible or improve the drainage? I know I haven't been there in a few years, but I know there used to be a section that didn't drain well and wasn't usable. Now that it's getting more popular, those plats we might want to use them. Like, are we limited, or, does it specify whose responsibility that is, if in any way?
It doesn't really get into that because I mean, the property is still the church's, and they have the ability to, either party can terminate within a short period of time, and they can decide to use that for some other purpose at any point in time, and they've just been very gracious over the years to allow us to do that. So the city has not put a substantial investment. The church has allowed us to do that, and so it's a mutually beneficial relationship right now without a large investment at this point. If we want to explore that, we could probably have conversations with them, but I don't know that they want to have anything permanent or a lot of money invested, because again, they still own that property and want to have flexibility, I'm sure, for future things, depending on what that congregation would want to do down the
Or
road.
kind of like cross that bridge when you come to it situation. Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have a question for the administration. I know in the past I've gone by and I've seen like cars pulled up in the grass closer to the garden area. Is it possible to maybe have like a crushed limestone parking pad area that's near there to allow them to park on that instead of just kind of pulling up over the curb? And
Anything's possible.
would it be permitted by the church, or is that something the city would be interested in doing?
I mean, we would have to talk to them about that. You'd have to have the appropriation, we would have to get permission, and we would have to do an amendment or addendum or something to the lease to be able to do that. Just because, again, those types of things are not envisioned in this. It's more of just a simple garden.
Just something for the administration to think about, because I know I've seen cars pulled up in there. And I imagine they probably don't want to have to deal with the ruts in that property. So at least if it's dealing with the gravel, that can always be removed. So, thank you.
Okay, do I have anything else on the first reading? If not, any additional items? Then I'll go ahead and,
Mr. Roy, if you are so inclined, if you want to entertain a motion for that, again, this is the same type of lease that
I'd like
we've
to
had
make a
I
before.
was gonna say, I'll second that motion.
I have just a point of order question on that. Are we allowed to do that at first reading because it's not a purchase of real estate, it's just a lease?
Correct. This is not this is like just a use agreement type thing. This is just a
Okay.
temporary lease type. Again, any party can terminate it with, I think, 30 days notice is what it says, if I remember correctly.
Thank you.
okay, so we have a first and a second recall. The vote?
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Adam Bozick,
Yes.
Mary Gutman,
Yes.
Donald Pavlik,
Yes.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Ted Roy.
Yes. So ordinance 202431 is passed with a 6-0. Do we have any additional items tonight? If not, I'll go ahead and,
Mr. Chair, I do have one question. I know that it's related to Parks and Recreation. There's been obviously a lot of talk on social media in regards to our Parks and Rec department and how we go about doing the summer camp registration. Just wanted to hear input from the administration on if you can provide any details or clear up any misconceptions.
I don't know if there are any misconceptions. I know last year, we didn't like the way that the registration went. It was long. So we decided to change it up this year, try something different, and see how it goes.
All right.
Is there any talk about expanding the amount of kids that we take, or is that even?
That would have to
Allowed.
go back into the budget because, you're set with X amount of kids for that size camp. That's what we plan on hiring, and that's what the money was budgeted for.
And a lot of the sizing of the camp is based on transportation. So they do field trips, and they try to limit the camp size so that when they take a grade level, it's one bus. It's not one bus with 40 kids and another bus with like 10. So
Understood.
the transportation for the field trips is a major consideration in the sizing.
Okay. I'm told by multiple parents that certain age groups were sold out, right? Could there be any way that we can work with the schools to better understand who would be using that beforehand, so we don't run into a situation where if we choose to expand it, we have a bus full of 40 kids and a bus full of 10?
I don't see why not.
I mean, I would think if you could do some sort of, something now where there's something brought home where the families can, entertain or answer the questions of what weeks they're gonna be using, what weeks they aren't, if they're gonna use all 10 weeks, so kind of better prepare. Because I know that there were some families, from what I've been told, where certain kids, age groups were able to get in, but other kids weren't. They had to be waitlisted.
Well, yes, we'll look at that.
Thank you.
And I do know that Jessica Simons did adjust the age groups so that the potential of that happening again would be minimal.
That's why we also focused on allowing those that wanted to utilize the camp for the full summer first, because a lot of those complaints were parents needed their kids to be in the whole summer, but in one age group, their child could not, and the other they could because some parents had already come in and taken, 2 or 3 weeks. So that's why we changed the focus to the initial registration being those who are going to consistently utilize the camp every week for the whole summer, so that those families who need that whole summer camp, because it's basically their child care for the summer, they had those first opportunities to get in and didn't have other families taking weeks here and there in those more popular age groups.
Did we open that full childcare up to non-residents first before offering the residents? Okay,
Next week.
okay, thank you.
Do
And another-
residents get an option to apply for it first, before the non-residents, for the full?
Yes.
summer?
Yes, this week.
Thank you.
It's this week.
And even the ones that just want to use it for 6 weeks?
No, that's after. Like Molly was saying, let's fill up the camp. So we got a little history on that. 2022, 49 residents registered for the 9 weeks, 1 non-resident. Last year, 44 residents registered, 3 non-residents. So there again, let's wait and see.
Yep.
We made an adjustment, and at the end of the year, I'll tell you whether it was good or bad.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah, another thing that Mrs. Simons did was, the 1 week that is like very, very popular is the one age group that has an overnight. She has pulled that out of it being like a camp event, and it's just a standalone event, so that they can have more people go, because they would sign up for that 1 week and not come to the camp all week just because they just wanted to go to that overnight. So now that overnight is a standalone, so that anybody can come to it, can sign up for it. So we
Thank you.
shouldn't have that challenge again.
Okay, thank you.
Can you just clarify, if I were a parent in need of the services, where could I find the information? On the city's website? Is this
Correct,
listed
at the
out
rec
in
center.
detail?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other items tonight? If not, I will go ahead and close community issues. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'll turn it over to Councilwoman Epstein for Public Service Committee.
Thank you. I call Public Service Committee to order. The Public Service Committee deals with streets, highways, sidewalks, buildings, and improvements, water, sewer, electricity, gas, energy resources, recycle, waste, and trash. We do have before us tonight at first reading ordinance number 2024-32, allowing the Director of Public Service to apply for and accept the Connecting Communities Planning Grant, appropriating necessary funds and providing for immediate enactment. The sponsor is Mayor Kilway, and the ordinance has been read into record. Would you like to speak to this ordinance?
I'm going to defer to Mr. Rohr because he can explain it better than I can.
Madam Chair, thank you. So at the end of the day, we have an opportunity to apply for this grant. It's a 100% grant. The city has no percentage into it. And what it would help us do is do a study of the feasibility of walking off East Avenue into the neighborhoods. And what that'll help us do is score better in the next funding round. If you remember, we took fourth. You got to score in the top three. We're only off by a couple points. This should help us score the next points to get to score in the top three.
Thank you. And you are looking for first reading adoption, is that correct?
I would like to request that, yes.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion.
Second.
All right. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Adam Bozick,
Yes.
Mary Gutman,
Yes.
Donald Pavlik,
Yes.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Ted Roy,
Yes.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Ordinance number 2024-32 has passed by a vote of 6-0.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anything further for public service this evening? All right, hearing none, I close committee.
Thank you. Moving on to item 11, reports of special committees. Our Council Operations Committee, Mr. Bullis is not present, but obviously we can see the biggest improvement is in front of us with a very, very large TV, the largest I've ever seen. Wouldn't even have a wall in my house that would fit on. So definitely a much needed addition, and you can actually see it. So thank you, Mr. Bullis, if you're watching, for the improvements. And I believe there's some other upgrades that are happening or have happened in relation to the mics and those sort of things. Mr. Davis is in the room. So thank you, sir, for that. Hearing no other items for that, we'll move on to item 12, announcements, and I'll turn it back over to Councilwoman Epstein.
Thank you very much. We do have a little presentation here. Thank you for making it for me. With an update on our Hearts for Heroes event. So it was pretty successful, and we just wanted to share that with the community. We did have over 40 guests in attendance. We had a lot of Girl Scout troops. Elementary girls, and crafting is pretty popular, and we were able to make over 100 cards. So there's a little photo of a lot of the residents that came out. And this was for troops deployed overseas. So this is a picture of some troops currently in South Korea and in receipt of the cards. So just wanted to thank everybody for coming out and participating in the event, and thank you to Councilman Bozick for participating with me, and to the other council members that came out to visit.
Yes, and I just want to thank Councilwoman Epstein for kind of taking the reins on this and doing most of the legwork. So I appreciate that, and it was a great turnout. It was great to see the kids and their creativity, and then my trouble of staying within the lines of coloring. So it kind of makes you feel bad. But thank you very much for organizing, and I think as a council as a whole, I really look forward to being able to do more community events such as these. So I know I've talked with a few of you before on different ideas. So I think these are great outreach to our community members. So I look forward to having more of those. All right. Any other comments or announcements for this evening? Hearing none, I will take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk.
Mary Gutman,
Yes.
Donald Pavlik,
Yes.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes?
Ted Roy,
Yes.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Adam Bozick.
Yes. The time is 8:39, and we are adjourned. Thank you.